we're going to know 5 years from now if the hybrid work schedule is the right work schedule, because we're going to watch all these kids graduate college and they're going to select jobs in which they have whatever meets their needs, because that's what the economy is going to say. The economy are job seekers. They're going to select what they want.
On this episode of A Call to Leadership, we pick up right where we left off from part one of this two-part sizzling series with Travis and Sam, my in-house co-hosts on Business Mondays, as we infuse statistics, real-world examples, personal observations to answer the question of how we deal with this new challenge of motivating and organizing productive organizations around remote workers. I can't wait for you to join us. I'm Dr. Nate Salah, and this is A Call to Leadership. Some employees are now being required, air quotes, to come in those 2 days a week, and they're like, this is dumb.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, what is going on here? Really, do we really need to be having this conversation? Now, I'm having to do all this other stuff to come in and do what? The same thing I'm doing at home for you.
Our culture has changed, man.
Our culture has
changed.
It's not everyone.
It's not everyone.
But you're right. This is a really good point you're bringing up, because people listening right now are going to push back on that and say, well, I've got this employee who says, no, I'm going to go find a different employer that doesn't require this dumb 2-day thing. And that goes back to a lot of the cultural conversation we're having. You haven't gotten them to buy into it. You can't just say, this is what we're doing, without explaining the benefit and the rationale. Because if people don't see the value add, they see a value loss.
100%.
But it's
lights out.
It's a perspective of, what's happening in the world today is that, human beings don't want to experience uncomfort or pain, right? And maybe going to the office for some is uncomfortable and painful, right? So for years, going to the office was part of our workplace culture, right? Getting in front of your boss was a part of workplace culture. Travis, I remember, your meetings at the Clear office, and you had your whole team of reps, and, you would get them fired up, and we were there and being a part of that. I mean, that was, everybody just expected that was what you did. You wake up every day, come meet, go to the office, your leadership sets the path, gets you motivated, gives you tasks. Maybe if they're not great leaders, they don't motivate you, but I would hope they would. Right. But now it's like you got this whole generation of people that are now used to working from home all the time, the comfort of working on a couch in front of it. Maybe it's in front of a TV. Maybe it's on an elliptical, or it's on a rowing machine taking calls. Yeah, that's you can argue benefits or disadvantages to that. But now it's an expectation. I think there's so many things right now as a country that we expect now. You know what I mean? We expect things. We deserve things. We should get things. We should get this trophy. We should get this pat on the back because it's nice. And what happens? Our level of performance and our accountability just keeps going like this, keeps dropping. Because we want to include everyone in the good conversation, right? We want everyone to be comfortable and feel like, you know what, it's okay for your sales to be, the bottom of the company, you know what I mean? Or the reason is I have these excuses. I just feel like this is all encompassing of what's happening today in general. Like, going to the office is a big deal now, 2 days a week. This blows your mind. Scary thing, man.
But it's changed.
It's changed, right? And I think at the end of the day, right, people are going to make their decision. They're going to go towards the companies that fit their needs.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
There are people, I'm sure there are people that, did terrible from working from home, right? I'm somebody, I don't enjoy working from home, right? Like, it is not something that I enjoy to do. So I struggled with working from home, even though
listeners are going to be shocked though when you say that, because
yeah,
and I know that about you,
right? Like,
I know that about you.
I love social interaction.
Yes, you do.
So yeah. I need to just, even if it's not motivating. It's just, hey, how are you? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I like getting dressed. I like, you know what I mean? Like, I like all those
Slow
things,
down.
you know, like, I like all those things about, you know, going into an office and having a space that is workspace, right? For me, I am not a good person if my workspace and my home space are together. That doesn't, I'm not the most productive person, but that's just me personally.
Is it
right?
mindset, or is it literally your environment that's affecting your
drive.
mindset?
I think a lot of it's drive.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like, you know,
I had a home office for 90 days.
Yeah,
I realized I can't have.
I mean, home office just isn't like. I mean, I can do work from home if I need to, right? But when like during like the pandemic, right, and it's just like that's all it is.
Yeah, you're forced.
I'm forced, and the thing is that I worked so much longer because there wasn't a clear delineation between, okay, I'm at work and now I'm at home, right? It became so convoluted that I didn't set boundaries to say, hey, listen, this is family time, right? Like I need to spend this time with my family, right? Like, because it was just like, there was no delineation for me. And so for me, I prefer to have an office. Now, do I go in that office 5 days a week? I do. Could I go in 4 days a week and be fine? Of course.
Yeah.
But it's also my company. So if I need to go run an errand, I have the flexibility to do that, right? And so, but I think when we're talking about this topic, inevitably business at the end of the day, right, is about dollars and cents.
Results.
Right? It's about results. And so even though that's not my preferred work environment, if I find a work environment that's going to be more productive for my workers, right, my teammates, and it's going to increase my bottom line, and at the end of the day, I have more money in my pocket, my business has more money, I'm going to do that, right? Like I'm going to do that. And when we start looking in the future on attracting talent and high quality talent, it doesn't matter what my beliefs really are. It matters what their beliefs are. Right? Like what do they want? Because that's my next rock star, right?
Sure.
That's my next millionaire rep, right? And so I've got to find a way, the way that motivates me doesn't necessarily mean that's the way that motivates them, right? And so as a leader, I've got to understand what motivates my people and how do I give that to them as best as possible. I'm in an industry where half my team has to show up at work every single day, right? They have to be there. But even in my industry, we're looking at automating a lot of the lab industry, right? Mm-hmm. But that's a scary thing for people because, you know, if it keeps going and companies start automating, there just aren't jobs there, you know, and that's a whole different story.
And it's another episode altogether, right? We can talk about that.
But what you won't do is, I know you, because I know you so well, is you're not going to compromise on results to appease how your workforce, you know, wants to work. So that's going to be your challenge, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're going to try to get the most out of people that, you know, are going to be in front of you less, mm-hmm. that you're going to have to hold accountable via Zoom and text and email, right? And
well, there's just also this crazy thing where you can just call somebody.
Yeah.
No, what? I mean, what? FaceTime, you mean?
Right.
FaceTime.
Right. No,
FaceTime.
You can just call somebody and be like, "Hey, man, how's your day going? What's going on?"
But you said something. He said something that's really. I don't know if you want to finish your thought. You said something that's really it resonated with me, which is the motivation piece. You know, we often look at the reward as the motivator or as the satisfier, but it's not. Mm-mm. It's the perceived satisfaction that I receive from the reward. So we always say, well, if I give them more money, well, of course, we've got an episode coming up on performance and performance rewards. If I give them more intrinsic value, if I give them more freedom and autonomy and sense of purpose and mastery, like Pink wrote in his book Drive. I think it's so important to understand how your perceived satisfaction level fits into our mission, vision, and values and how we run this company and see where that overlap is. Because if the overlap isn't significant enough, it's just not a fit. But if it is, then let's see where this will take us so that I can help you, especially as we're talking about servant leadership, as I can help you with your highest priority needs. For example, in our organization, some of my people love to come in. Some of them prefer remote work. I got a guy who's been working with me forever who he starts at 3 a.m. It's like, Nate, I'm started at 3. I'm done by 8. And I'm like, cool. Come in, meet with a client every so often. Come in meet with me, and that works within our boundaries of our organization.
But
it works for that individual. Well, it's
for the most part. What I'm saying is, you don't
Yeah.
have to physically.
No. I mean, it's
either.
accounting. Yeah, it's accounting. Yeah,
Yeah.
You don't. But the other piece is, it doesn't work for everybody. Like for you, Travis, same thing, man. I had, as soon as we opened up this whole server environment, it's like, oh, I can do tax work and accounting from home. And then the boundary started like fading. And then it's like, well, why are you still downstairs doing work? It's midnight. I'm like, well, if I just got this file done, then, right?
So
then
you don't stop.
You don't stop. So you start compromising your integrity on what your commitments are. On the flip side of that, you could certainly have your work day lined up at home, and then you're like, well, I could go out and finish mowing the lawn and no big deal, right? Or I could do, so there can be some real challenges on that side of it where not just from Gladwell's perspective of do I belong, but does it even make sense? Because I haven't set up the right parameters and my employer hasn't set up the right parameters that allow me to thrive in that environment.
Yeah, but he's not the only one to say that. I mean, there's been some pretty well-known leadership, guys that speak on culture that have came out and said, go to the office. And I guess it depends on what kind of industry you're in. I do think that on some level, at some point, no matter what industry you're in, getting in front of your leadership, being with your team has, huge benefits.
I agree.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that.
So I think Nate also brought up a key point, which, you said trust was big, right? But yeah, I got to mow the lawn. My daughter's crying and, my wife's doing something, and I got to go upstairs for an hour and do something.
Hey, you're home, right? You're home.
But let me finish. Yeah. Let me finish. My thought is, if you're at the office, you're not, those decisions are not being compromised, right? When you're at home, everything that happens in your life around you, if you're trustworthy, it won't, right? If you're doing the right things. But for a lot of people, that's not what it is. It's like I can go here for an hour and no one's going to know
where you're going to go.
Why does it matter?
It depends.
Why does it matter? If the results are there, and the results are showing productivity is increased, we have been trained, right? And our parents and our grandparents, all the way back, we have this from a child, right? I mean, you start going to preschool at 3 years old. You're in school until 25, 26 if you're getting an advanced degree, right? So you're trained to believe that I have to go into this place. I have to do this. And I would even go so far as that's a societal thing, right? Like that's a control measure that society has put in place, right? I mean, I don't care if you mow the lawn at 12:30 in the afternoon if you've got your work done, right? Like I pay you to do I don't pay you for your hours. I pay you for a product of work. If that product of work is done and it's done exactly the way that I want it to be done, it's not my decision. It's what the business dictates, right? Like we need this done a certain way. If you get that done, I really could care less what you do with your time.
Yeah, but I was more, no. But that's your perspective. That's not. No. Listen, there's 100%. I believe in going to the office. I believe in work structure. Yes, 100%. You're saying the job is done. Maybe your data entry is done. Maybe your tax returns are done. Yeah, I get that. I understand that.
Maybe your sales calls are done.
Yeah, your sales calls are done.
Maybe they are.
Your sales calls are done.
Maybe they are.
Your meetings are done for you're done.
You exceeded your quota.
But that depends on the type of.
When you go in the office, right? Yeah. You have what a half hour lunch, right? You have these parts in your day where I would love for somebody to track it and see how much work actually gets done in an office setting, because you also in an office setting, what you have people like me and you who love to talk. You and me are in an office together. I guarantee you if somebody tracked us, we're sitting down and having random conversations for an hour a day.
Yeah.
little 10-minute clips here, 10-minute clips here, right? How's the kids? How's the family? What'd you do this weekend? What's going on? What's this? What's that? We're social beings.
That's
right?
interesting.
Like we're going to have these downtimes.
This is important.
Yeah, but that builds what?
But what
Right.
it builds
Culture,
friendship,
What's that build?
culture.
Yeah,
But it
relationship.
doesn't, it doesn't
Yeah.
build productivity.
However,
This is the thing.
it depends on the
Productivity
environment.
It does depend on your environment, and your mindset has so much to do with how effective you are. If you tell me I have to send 27 emails and I've done that 27 emails by noon, yeah, you don't care, but you're not pushing yourself beyond that. In sales,
Well,
you
what if-
should be.
what if the goal is
But listen,
40 emails?
But
You know
but
what I
in
mean? Like-
but it's sales, you should be.
Yeah.
In my industry, you should be. Like, I understand in some industries, I get that, sending out documents, sending emails, processing paperwork, and your job's done for that. I get that. I 100% understand that, and it doesn't matter. But I also believe that, again, everybody's wondering why we're struggling with quality workers in an environment, because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs that cannot find good people, right? Are they all deficient? Or is there deficiency in the workforce? I'm not saying one or the other.
No, I think there's absolutely a deficiency.
But what I'm
in the
saying is,
workplace.
again, we go back to the, leadership to me has to be face to face.
Has to be?
To me, it is.
Has to be.
To me,
Well, face to
yes.
face now, face to face or in person.
So in person, I like the in-person interaction. I've had meetings where I didn't have to be in front of somebody, but I got on a plane for 4 hours just to ensure that person saw my face.
100%. And you know what? I did the same thing Tuesday. I flew to Chicago for 2 meetings. I was literally in Chicago for 5 hours, flew back home.
Yeah.
Right? I agree with you. There are times where that is necessary. I just don't think that it's necessary to come into an office 40 hours a week and be more productive, to be happier. Right? So let's look at it. You're not happy. And this is not me. This is statistics. You're happier, right? Working from home, most people, right? More productive, higher bottom line, right? Culture might be something that falls off. We don't know yet, right? We're too really new into this. If I'm running a business, what do I want? I want happy employees that are being productive, like working.
Sure.
Like
Absolutely.
If I have to lose a little bit on a culture, that's something personally I'm willing to take. I'm willing to lose on a culture to have happier employees that are being more productive.
What kind of medical sales culture in your company do you have with your salespeople? What would you define your culture as? If you had to describe it to me, what's your work culture?
I would say that it's a driven culture.
Okay.
Right? I
agree.
mean, they're
Sure.
you know me, right? So it's a driven culture. But as a leader with my medical sales reps, and I think also what we need to differentiate, right, is that we're not talking about people who just graduated high school or just graduated college, right? I mean, we're talking people who are 20 years in the business, right? I mean, most of my people have come from very corporate structures. They didn't like that corporate structure and they wanted to make more money on their own, right? And so that's why they come to me. And so I define my leadership style with those individuals is I will give you, and this may sound harsh, I will give you enough rope to hang yourself.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
I will give you all the support you want, but I'm not going to force that support down your throat because you are a 50-year-old sales rep who has been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah,
A player. I hire A players. I pay for A players. I hire A players. I give them, they have full access to me. Anytime they need me in an account or in a sales call, I'm getting on a plane and I'm going there. But I'm not going to force myself on somebody who's already proven that they know what they're doing.
So again, you've hired people that don't need you to hold their hand all day.
Self-organizing,
I
self-regulating.
will tell you that most businesses, small businesses, are not like that.
100%. It depends on the organization.
Or even medium business.
This is important.
Yeah.
It's important that you bring that up because this brings that conversation full circle on who are we as leaders and what kind of organizations are we building as we transition.
Hats off to you, by the way,
changes.
because that's what we all strive for.
100%.
Yeah.
So it reminds me, and I'm going to throw another wrench in this. So when Jobs was building out the Pixar campus, after Pixar started making money, and he builds out this campus, his original idea for Pixar was to have one set of bathrooms in this entire massive campus. Why? Because he thought better culture, better collaboration, where people are congregating in a certain area, right?
What does that guy know?
What does that get? Check this out.
I know where you're going with this.
One of his A players who was pregnant is like, I am not walking 5 minutes to get to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make a change because this just does not work.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. It's not a cut and dry where it's just always the situation that has to be. Even with A players, you've got to make modifications based on what you said earlier, based on what they need.
So with everything that's happened, and I'm just asking this as a general question, is the workforce better than it was 5 years ago?
For me, yes.
For you, yes.
For me, yes.
You're
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Professional, maybe in the professional industry.
Professional industry.
Yeah, 100%. So how many people have came to you, Travis, and said, man, I cannot find the right people. I'm struggling. I have high turnover. And then you start going through the culture. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
All the kind of So I feel like that's the number one question I get asked. When people say they're struggling,
I don't disagree with you.
It's people.
It's people.
5 years ago, that was not.
No,
that was not the first thing people said.
It wasn't the thing. But
Yeah.
I think it's so much bigger. I mean, our unemployment rate is what, 3.5%, right? I mean, sub 5%. We're a very heavily employed country right now, right? And if you're not employed, you're getting so much stimulus. You're getting so much government money that you're not going to work, right? And we've talked about this, right? The Great Resignation and everything that's going on. We're at a complete tipping point in our society that it's changing. It is changing, right? And it's not what I think is the best way, because if I had a retail environment like you, dude, I'm there every day. I mean, it's just that's just the nature of the beast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about like large organizations, right? Take a Fortune 50 company, right? I mean, just flip a coin, right? Do all those people need to come into that office?
I don't think anyone's saying that.
Right. And so then you start thinking about, okay, I need to be smarter in this new world to continue, especially a public company, right? To continue to drive dividends to my shareholders. How can I do that? I need happy people. I need productive people. Maybe I can reduce my spend on real estate, right? I mean, I can not build this, $20 million facility. Maybe I only need a $10 million facility, right? And so you start adding up X's and O's. And at the end of the day, man, I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm wanting to find what's the best way to make money. I can save it, I can drive it, right? Like, to me, it's like, that's where I want to be, right? I want to be in this point right now in this world, because the old way of thinking isn't working. New way of thinking probably doesn't work either. And so it's got to be a mixture of the two. And I think that, right, businesses right now can create a vastly different experience for their people, which we all know translates into a different experience for their customers.
Yeah. And I think that's the rub, right? Is how do you create all those things while getting production? So how do you give the comfort of working from home, the comfort of the flexibility, and also get the results? And like you said, some of these studies are showing more results. So that's the difficulty. I mean, when the offices are gone and this real estate's gone, and these corporations are getting huge dividends, where's that money going? Are they giving their people more money to stay at home and work? No, they're not. They're lining their pockets and being more profitable, probably, right?
But some companies are beginning to become more aware of that need and that pushback from employees. Like, okay, you're saving. I hear it. I hear it. Yeah. You hear it even in our private circles.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, hold on a second. Now it's not adding up. Mm-hmm. Right. But not only, the middle-aged worker, I'm glad that you brought up all these different generations who there's overlap and similarities, but certainly there's generational cues that are specific to that generation. For example, as you know, I teach at the university. And in the past, online versus in-person was vastly outweighed by in-person. Now, the same course I teach, I taught an organizational behavior and leadership course. It was double tracked. It was one was in person, one was online. Guess how many people signed up for the in-person course?
3.
Take a number.
6.
0. 43 students. They had to open up a second online module because 25 is the max to do the online version. I mean, and these are 18 to 22s. undergrads. And hey, this is
that's the generation. I mean, like that's
this is consistent though. Amazon, retail, brick and mortar, Main Street. No one wants to see anybody anymore. No one wants to go and interact anymore. It's just this is a big. This is all
the world.
This is the world. Now,
world.
Here's what I do. I ask students. What's going on? Because people pay me and you to go to a seminar or a workshop and be in person with us, big bucks, right?
Yep.
They'll drop $500, they'll drop $1,000 for a weekend. But a student,
what a deal that is.
But yeah, what a deal! Yeah, plug, but shameless. but the student who's paying the same money would rather say, you know what, coach, teach, professor, I'd rather not have that integrated one-on-one time with you and with this group in a way that multiplies exponentially the opportunity I have to learn in a collective. I'd rather just do it on my own.
I think about my kids, right? 6 years old. They've had a tablet. I mean, they could use a tablet literally before they could really speak well, right? I mean, you've got young kids and your kids a little bit older than ours, but that's their world. You know what I mean? And so when you talk about 18 to 22, these kids, right? I'm old.
Sure, young adults, right? Kids, right?
Yeah. These kids, right? That's their entire world has been online, And so, of course, they're going to be more comfortable with that. Now, are there larger societal issues that leads to? 100%, right? I agree with you, Sam. 100% there are issues that arise from that. But there are also benefits that arise from that, right? And so as a business owner, you have to say, you've got to weigh it out, right? What's more important to me? I would assume most business owners would want to have maximize revenue, right? They want to maximize their revenue as much as possible. It's why capitalists, right? We're all capitalists.
Friedman, right? Yeah, shareholder value,
right? So it's redefining the workplace. But I think what people need to really understand is that it doesn't matter what your feelings are. It matters what your employees' feelings are. Because at the end of the day, we're going to know 5 years from now if the hybrid work schedule is the right work schedule, because we're going to watch all these kids graduate college and they're going to select jobs in which they have whatever meets their needs. 5 years from now, we're going to know, right? 90% of companies are on hybrid work schedules, whatever it is, right? Because that's what the economy is going to say. The economy are job seekers. They're going to select what they want, and businesses will either adapt or die.
I think at first it's like you take my, during COVID when my kids were being homeschooled, right? Or they, had home. I mean, it was terrible. It was an absolute mess. I know you're going to go somewhere else with this.
No, I get it. It's a left field, right?
But my kids didn't do very well with homework being sent home and spending time downstairs doing their work. It was a disaster nationwide. It was a disaster not only in your home, everywhere. I'm not saying that that's an equivalent to, a grown adult that works from home, right? I'm not saying that, but it comes down at the very core is your mindset. What is your mindset? I know, there's certain people in any kind of environment that are going to perform because that's just who they are. They have the skill sets, they have the mindset where you put me in any environment and I'm going to thrive and I'm going to do my job and I'm going to exceed expectations. What percentage of people you think that is?
20%.
Okay.
They always say 20%.
Yeah,
80-20 rule, right? Yeah. So I think that's where the 80 that everybody's like, how do I get the most out of this 80%, right? That's left. How am I as a leader going to remotely get the most out of
and some
these
you're not.
people?
You're not going to be able with some. But I would say and I don't know the statistics, but if you looked at a spend of let's call it like an Ernst & Young company size, right? Like PricewaterhouseCoopers, like large companies, right? Big real estate footprints. What's their spend on real estate?
Right. Huge.
Is it 15%? Is it 20%? So what I'm saying is you could possibly get the same amount with less employees, right? Focus on that 20%. You're never going to be able to motivate all 100% of your people, right? And so at some point you have to say, okay, I have a professional organization. Again, different, right? The people that come to me and are saying, oh my God, I can't find people, right? I'm telling you right now, physicians, right? Doctors, they can't find staff, right? They can't find nurses. They can't find, MAs, right? Medical assistants. They can't find office staff, because they're getting priced out, right? Because people are all searching for that office staff. So you have a certain demographic of worker that you're going to be challenged, and offices are going to need to change. I'm talking about, and I think you and I talk about different people. I'm talking about your professional players who are going to perform. Yeah. Those people are the people, right? In a business, those are the people that should be catered to, because those are the people that are making you the money, right? Like, that's making you the money. And when I say I give somebody enough rope to hang themselves, I'm not trying to be mean about it. I'm going to give you enough freedom that you're going to either succeed or fail on your own.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to succeed or fail on your own. If you want to succeed, you have every tool imaginable. I spend a ton of money on IT infrastructure, making sure there's integrations, making sure that people have the ability to have any level of communication they want. Some choose to use it, some don't. Those that don't use it end up working their way out of the organization, right? Just on their own. And so I don't want to be and I'm lucky enough in my organization to where I don't have to be the taskmaster, where it's, you got time to lean, you got time to clean, right? You're like, that's just,
right. So true.
That's just not me. And so the organizations that I build, I build not to be like that, right? Sure. And I'm lucky in that regard. But I think that the best case scenario is to have a hybrid work schedule and allow people. If there's people like me, if I was on a hybrid work schedule, I'd probably be in the office 4 days a week, right? I would be in the office 4 days a week. Yeah. I would either take Monday or Friday. I'd work from home one of those days, right? But I'd be in the office 4 days a week. Other people, maybe they only come in once a week, right? Sure. But that's what they want. So it's leaders identifying what it is to motivate your employees, again, to garner the most productivity, not to garner the most time from an individual.
Yeah. And I think again, I mean, we could go into performance metrics and compensation, and I think there's ways we can attack that topic. And I think that's maybe a whole other podcast, compensation and, how to produce results. But
it's built around a philosophy. I mean, I think that's what we're getting at, is that whether or not you're able to succeed in a hybrid environment, whether or not you're able to succeed with remote workers who perhaps have to be remote because they're in different nations and countries, whether or not you have people who are willing to come into the office, it's going to be based on the philosophy of your business and your ability to persuade people that this particular model is going to be the most effective for their own future. And that shared vision that you have.
Shared vision, shared purpose.
Because if it's not shared, it's just not a fit. And this is where the fray starts to happen in organizations, where we can start to separate the wheat from the chaff, if you will, when we're making change, right? So it's not always a bad thing, a good thing. We just look at what's the most effective thing,
right,
and run with it. And so where Malcolm Gladwell said that it's not in your best interest to work from home, for some, that's true. For others, it's not.
It's kind of funny he's an author too. So does he go to this publisher and work at his publisher's office?
Well, no, he said most of what he does is working at like different places, like whether it's sitting in a restaurant or so. Basically, he hates going in to the office.
I don't want to misquote, but I'm pretty sure it was Cardone who he recently came out and said go to the office, and I want to see Gary Vee talked about it recently, and I want to go back and listen to that podcast, but I think it was kind of the same thing as what he said. So like for some people, it's very important to go to the office.
Some people it is.
For others, it's less.
And I think again, right? Like I think that comes down to an industry. It comes down to your job. Doctors have to go in the office. You know what I mean? You're working in a retail environment. You have to go in the office. You're customer facing. You bet. But the customer facing roles, right? For now, right? For now. But if you're not in a customer facing role,
And to be honest with you, everything I do is all customer facing.
Right. Right. So I get your perspective because that's
we're
where
coming
you're at,
from
right?
two different worlds.
100%.
At the same time, if I required in our accounting advisory firm, if I required all my staff members to come in and do all their accounting work 40 days, it would be off through the roof. They would be like, Nate, you're the worst. We thought you were the best, but you're the worst.
Right.
Because we can't seem to function as effectively in this environment as the environment that we previously had with you, where we had that autonomy, we had that flexibility. And I let it all flesh itself out based on, here are the responsibilities, requirements. Here's what we have to get done. And what's the best metrics? What's the best system? What's the best formula for us to do this together and collectively? And I think that's also part of it. I think part of it, and something that we didn't talk too much about, was having the conversation, talking with our people and letting them know, look, I want you to thrive. Here are some of the ways that I think that you can best thrive, i.e., coming in and having this meeting with us, working this, finishing this project at home. What do you think about that? Mm-hmm. I mean, how often are we having those real conversations and inviting people to share so that we can show them that we actually care? Because as Maxwell once said, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Mm-hmm. And that's one way we do it.